Morning coffee, YouTube. How you doing? I am FNGFASHA here, and today I want to talk to you something more in line with why I started these videos, and that was some opinions of mine that sometime might not be pleasant to everyone, but it's my webcam, and it's what's bothering me. It's what I'm thinking about. And this is probably going to end up being a series since I try to keep them under 5 minutes for everybody. And I'm thinking that the title of this series is going to be the Pussifaction of America. Really? Pussifaction of America. What does that entail? Well, to me, it outlines what has happened in this country over the last 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years that has allowed us to decline to the point that we are no longer the great nation that we once was. I remember when I was in high school and watching the news, ABC World News Tonight was always talking about how China was trying to do everything that they could so they would have a better education than we do, so they could have the best schools in the world. And by God, we've helped them with that. And that's just one of the topics that I'm going to talk about. But I want to try to go back and see if I can figure out, in my own opinion here and using my own words, exactly when I think this started. And you know, I think the pussification goes right hand in hand with entitlements and people who don't speak their mind about how they truly feel about something. If you take people who are used to doing things for themselves, let's talk about my father and my father-in-law, for instance. My former father-in-law, my deceased father-in-law as it might be. You know, the interesting thing about that was that if there was something in my home that was broken, okay, my father would fix it. And if he couldn't fix it, then we bought it. And if we couldn't afford it, we did without it, okay? And by that I mean that he worked on all of his cars, he worked on everything on the farm, he fixed everything on the farm, and if he couldn't fix it and we couldn't afford it, we did without it. We just sucked it up, okay? I mean, if the riding mower, which we didn't have then, but I have now, if it broke, I would go back to a push mower. I just wouldn't simply let the damn grass grow up to my waist. I think that a lot of this started in school when we took corporal punishment out of the school system. You know, children need to have a fear. They need to have a fear of their parents. They need to have a fear of going to jail. They need to have a fear of embarrassing their family. And they need to have a fear of going to hell. And none of that exists anymore. You can't touch a child in school. You can't come put a hand on his shoulder because the teachers are afraid that they might get some kind of molestation charge against them. You can't discipline a child. There's no fear for the principals. By God, when I was in high school and junior high school, I knew better than to act up, because if I acted up at school and got a spanking or a paddling, I was going to get a damn beating when I got home. It wasn't just one, it was two. And the first one was for being a dumbass and doing something I wasn't supposed to do. And the second one was for embarrassing my family. Yeah, let me tell you about this real quick. I acted up one time. I thought I was real big and bad. And I got sent home. And the school resource officer happened to be there. I think this was probably the 8th grade. By this time, my father was retired. I was a late bloomer, a late child. But he was sitting on the front porch when the police officer brought me home. And I showed my ass and lit a sparkler in the gym, and it got hot, and I dropped it behind the bleachers, and I started a small fire. And that would have been fine. Okay, I owned up to it, but I was standing there with a bunch of guys, and I still don't know why, but when they took me in the principal's office, I got mouthy with him, got my ass beat, and then got put in a police car and got brought home. And the really weird thing was that when I came into the neighborhood, I was in the back seat of the police car. Had I been in the front seat of the police car, it might not have been that bad. But when I looked out the window and saw my father standing on the steps, And he didn't beat me that day. He didn't have to. The look in his eye, the hurt in his eye to have one of his sons brought home in a police car into the neighborhood with everybody looking was worse than any beating I could have ever gotten in my life. Okay, it just was. But you take that fear out of children, and there's nothing for them to fear. They don't have to respect anybody, they don't have to listen to anybody, and they don't have to do anything for anybody. And what that is it builds up a society that says, I don't care, you can't do anything to me. You know, and we're going to go backwards and forth on this, and I'm going to jump backwards and forth through the timeline of what I'm talking about. But I mean, you know, just for an example, today I read in the newspaper where some school out in California is going to cancel the honors banquet because all the other kids might have their feelings hurt because they didn't reach honors. Well, what the hell is that about? Are we getting to where we're in a fucking society where we can't have winners and losers? Everybody's the same, everybody's equal? Well, that's bullshit. Everybody can't be equal. There always has to be fry cooks. There always has to be somebody to dig a ditch. There always has to be somebody to drive a truck. There's always got to be somebody to carry a gun. There's always got to be somebody to teach somebody. We have different layers. It's called capitalism. Okay? Well, it used to be called capitalism, but now it's called fucking entitlements. Everybody wants something for doing absolutely nothing. And I think that's bullshit. So before I get completely worked up over this too much, I'm just going to go ahead and let that go. My son's on the way down here this morning, and we're going to head up to a model train show and take a look at some stuff. So, you know, look, if you subscribe to the site in a couple days, bounce over to the FNGFASHA site, and we're going to do a little video on this train show we're going to. So, there you go. I hope you have a good Saturday. It's cold and damp here in the Carolinas, and there's absolutely nothing we can do outside, so we're going to find some stuff to do indoors and go look at some toy trains. All right, as always, these are my opinions. I welcome yours. Y'all take care. See ya. Bye.